So here's our agenda for today's discussion. First, a little housekeeping at the front end here. This is actually day 2 of our fall webinar series. We kicked off day 1 yesterday. We covered our portal integration suite, and we recorded that webinar. So if you're looking to get more information on our portal integration suite and how it can help you integrate your websites and web applications and expedite website launches and updates, just go to www.fishbowlsolutions.com and search for portal integration, and it'll take you directly to the page with the recording. Today we're going to be talking about contract management, as I stated, and then we do have one other webcast scheduled for tomorrow, day 3, where we'll be talking about our ECM admin suite. Also just pointing out that the next Oracle webcast upcoming is on November 11th. They're going to be talking about supercharging your web applications with one-click content updates. But for the purposes of today's meeting, we're going to be talking about our Fishbowl's contract management solution and how it can help your organization address the challenges of managing contracts by providing an easy way to create the contracts and then providing the back-end auditability and governance features through enhanced workflows and notifications to ensure that you stay ahead of the dreaded contract expiration notification. We will also show a demo of the solution, and then that will be followed by a Q&A session at the end. So a little bit about Fishbowl. Fishbowl is a software development and consulting services organization that specializes in solutions leveraging Oracle Universal Content Management and Oracle WebCenter. We have hundreds of customers across North America that have benefited from our technology leveraging these platforms, and we have the product expertise to improve your most pressing content management web or portal challenges. Fishbowl offers comprehensive solutions. This starts with our professional consulting services, where we are engaged with you, the customer, from the very beginning of your project, and then we scope it out, offering the most long-term benefits. Our customer-first philosophy means that we have repeat business and many strong references. And recently, we've done a lot of activity, especially around Enterprise 2.0. And we are considered an expert in this space on the Oracle side when you consider Oracle Content Management and Web Center. So that's a little bit about Fishbowl. Now I'm going to turn it over to Fishbowl Solutions Vice President of Marketing, Billy Kripe, as he talks about our contract management solution.
Well, thanks a bunch, Jason. And hey, gang, I'm glad that you're on this webinar with us. As Jason mentioned, this is day 2 of our fall webinar series, and I would invite you all back tomorrow as we talk a little bit more about some of the administrative utilities that Fishbowl has created for Oracle's enterprise content management systems. Again, to remind you, if you were interested in learning more about our portal integration suite, and if you missed the webinar from yesterday, you can go to our website, fishbowlsolutions.com, and do a search for Portal Integration Suite. Get right there to the page with the information on it. And also, we would always be happy to interact with you. You can send us an email at 11g@fishbowlsolutions.com. But today we're talking about contract management and the contract management solution from Fishbowl Solutions. We'll be walking through just a few short slides, and we're going to be showing you a demonstration. It is a pre-recorded viewlet. We did that simply in the interest of time so that we can make sure to get through all the points. This is a live and running system, though. We'd be happy to schedule a live demonstration with you and to walk through your particular business needs at any time. So let's get into this. When we're thinking about managing contracts, there are really 3 main challenges that seem to rise to the surface. These challenges can be categorized like this. Contracts have a long and varied history of being paper and having a lot of physical assets associated with them. Well, as we've moved into the electronic age, many of those contracts and those assets associated with contracts and other obligations that your organization may have or that other organizations have to you, there's a long and sometimes arduous paper trail that requires, in reality, a whole lot more than a large filing system or even a large warehouse that needs to get access to that information, to follow up with it, to understand where it is, and to have it at your fingertips is increasingly important as governance regulations come to bear, as proactive and business opportunity regulations or simply best practices come to bear within your organization. As we look at challenge number 2, contracts and the agreements and attachments and references and supporting materials that go into them are often involved in a very complex and multi-step process that involves many people around your organization and with your third-party contractors, with those other people who you are contracting with, in order to both review, have that creation phase, to gather signatures, to approve, and then also to anticipate what's coming up. When is that contract expiring? What obligations are incumbent upon me or upon my contracting organization to provide a service or capability to me? That's another, managing that whole complex and multi-step process is another challenge. Challenge 3 is also, it comes down to efficiency. The ability to manage contracts is often very time intensive. It requires a lot of manual physical labor to find the information, to coordinate, and to collate all the associated references, information assets, and exhibits that go into a complete contract portfolio. That also means that there's a lot of time spent monitoring and keeping everything up to date. So those are the 3 main challenges that we see when we look at contracts. And as we start to investigate what a typical workflow or process flow for managing those contracts is, we see something very similar to what is on your screen right now. And it's simply an arduous, time-consuming process where even if people have a content repository, even if they have electronic systems or scan and capture systems, that's often simply one step in an otherwise long and arduous process. With the communication being governed by email, managed by individuals, and who often send reminders, and hey, don't forget this is in your inbox, and oh yeah, I sent that email to you 3 weeks ago, how come you didn't do anything with it? Well, we go back and forth oftentimes on emails, sending around all the different contract attachments, which then we have to synchronize and coordinate and collate and bring all together at the very end. Oftentimes that means that at the end of the day, we are beholden to whatever simply made it through the process. We haven't been proactive. We haven't governed our contracts. Instead, those contracts and obligations are governing us. So as you can see, there's too many steps, too much time lost. That yields a loss of money and revenue and opportunity. Well, our goal in managing those contracts is actually negotiating the best terms for our organization and those conditions with the other parties that are contracting with us. And that also means to ensure that we are maintaining compliance with the terms and obligations that are incumbent upon us as the contracting organization to make sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and at the end of the day, all the parties involved are happy and the expectations are met. Well, what does Fishbowl Solutions offer? What we have is a full suite of tailor-made components and capabilities that have been fit together with expert implementation services to govern and manage how the contracts are organized, are workflowed, are secured, and are governed inside of your organization. As we walk through the demonstration in just a few short minutes, we'll be seeing these value-added components working together in the context of managing contracts for your organization. We have the Contracts Wizard, which helps you create and manage new contracts and new cover pages, accumulating all of the assets. The contract cover sheet, tailor-made to the specific types of contracts in your organization. After all, our organizations rarely deal with one type of a contract. We have many different types, everything from managing the building and the operational services, from janitorial services to equipment service and repair contracts, to contracts with employees or other third parties that provide valuable information or valuable products to our supply chain or your supply chain. We have entity management, which is really a lightweight way of doing master data management, the ability to govern and to map name changes and entity changes and term changes throughout the life cycle of contracts, because we live in a very dynamic world. Names change, involved parties change, products change, and are de-supported and support paradigms change. All of those still need to be related to one another. That's what we have built in with the Entity Manager. Of course, very few contracts are single documents or single scanned files. They often have very many attachments and other materials that are related to them, exhibits and material information and related change orders and addendums. All of those items need to go together because they're governed by a single contract many times. And then those contract collections themselves are often governed by larger master services agreements, master contracts, which have additional terms and stipulations that make obligations drill down onto the individual contract entities. We also leverage our workflow solution set and subscription notification products for this. What that means is that as we work through the contract management process, that is often routing contracts and the associated documents to different parties, both inside and outside of our organization. That is for purposes such as signature gathering, for review purposes, for terms and conditions creation or editing. And that is a very important process to see where things exist in that process to increase and enhance the out-of-the-box capabilities that Oracle provides, and also to gather a richer audit trail so that governance is not a question, but is an immediate and intuitive capability. All of this is built on top of the Oracle Content Management Platform, which means you gain all the advantages and benefits that come along with that platform, from retention management to audit and version control, to the ability to associate items, to the ability to expose those contracts and all of the related items through other delivery channels like portals, like mobile devices and websites. Well, as we look at the contract process flow when we use the Fishbowl solution, what we see is that there are two primary life cycles or phases of the life cycle of a contract which really bubble up to the top. Now, compare this to that slide I showed you just a couple minutes ago with that long and winding path filled with emails and ad hoc interactions. When we look at the Fishbowl solution, we see that contracts live in a very precise creation and review cycle where in step 1 and step 2 we're creating the contract in a web-based and intuitive manner, mapping the data to entities that may already exist in our system so that we're not reinventing the wheel each time a new contract comes along. We are associating all the related materials to the governing contract or governing documents, making sure that there's a nice and intuitive, easy to read cover page for all parties, whether they are legal people or business users or contracting third parties. The information is at their fingertips. It's easy and intuitive to use. And then we are tapping the capabilities of workflow to route and review that information for signature gathering and approval. Well, once all that happens, the contract can be considered to be in force. When that contract is in force, it is imperative that the organizations, that your organizations are doing more than filing it away in the filing cabinet of the legal departments or the HR department or somebody's desk. In-force contracts make sure that there are obligations incumbent upon you and that expectations from other parties, contracting parties, that you should be able to expect. And so what we do is we automate some of the more manual aspects of governing and of using and of investigating those in-force contracts. And that's where we look at step 1, where the contract is about to expire, and we have a whole tiered set of notifications and proactive reminders for the parties involved that, hey, this contract is getting ready to expire, or other terms and expectations that are incumbent upon you are due very, very soon. You'd better get on it, have a reminder that those obligations are pending or are looming. We have automatic email notifications, which can also cascade out to automatic RSS or other device or web notifications, so that the people involved are able to see the information at their fingertips through whatever sort of an interactive channel they desire. If they're on the web, they can see the notification. If they're using email or they're on a smartphone, they can see the notifications there. Step 3 is where the users actually take the action, either in your shop or in your contracting shop, to perform the activities that are either required as outlined by the contract, or even to restart negotiation processes for a renewal of the contract, maybe updating terms and conditions, maybe negotiating for better prices or better, more services to be rendered. When that happens in a proactive manner, all parties involved get a much better deal rather than being beholden to automatic renewal clauses and automatic service clauses that all too often in organizations without these solutions start to drain expenses and time. Well, this yields a number of benefits to the organizations. By eliminating or decreasing the physical storage and handling of the contracts, what we're doing is giving electronic access to the involved parties, of course always secured to the appropriate roles and conditions of the individual users, so that they can get at the information without either putting in service requests to find something by a corporate librarian out in a warehouse somewhere, or to go digging through stacks of paper that they hope that they remember where it was. Business benefit 2 is really about streamlining the process. It's decreasing the number of steps and emails and synchronization efforts that have to happen when you are not using the Fishbowl Solutions contract management suite. When you are using the suite, you're able to take advantage of the automation and the proactive notification that the system enables and empowers. That reduces those amounts of redundant tasks. It gives you a much richer audit trail to know who's accessed the items, what have they said, and what have they agreed to, all with including all of that process oversight and governance and audit capabilities. That benefit number 3, again, is to really get out ahead of the contracts, to proactively manage them so that organizations are not caught paying for services that they don't want or contracting for services that automatically renewed when, because we live in that dynamic world, the needs and the responsibilities may actually have changed. Well, there are a number of case studies that are published and available on our website. One such is listed here on your screen, where the organization had a very manually intensive contract process and workflow with little or no insight into when contracts were going to expire and little ability to proactively renegotiate what those contracts are doing. Well, Fishbowl Solutions came in and, using some of the technologies that we've talked about here, updated and enabled this organization to extend and to get out ahead of their contract processes, to get users made proactively aware of what was going on, and to really bring in the workflow capabilities to route information to the appropriate parties at the appropriate time, so that those contracts and all of the associated items are delivered in context to those right users, always with security and at the right time. The result was a lot of saved time, a lot of saved money, and a much more streamlined process today. So in summary, with the Fish, and this is right before we get into the short demonstration, the contract management solution from Fishbowl addresses the 3 main challenges of governance, of the paper contracts being ad hoc and unruly, of streamlining that complex and manual process, and of really boosting the efficiency of the organization. The capabilities of the contract management solution really drives down into leveraging and extending the capabilities that are inherent in the Oracle content management system. This is a comprehensive offering that is prepackaged, supported, and integrated for that complete end-to-end management of your contracts and the approval, creation, and review process. Well, the value there is what we've talked about: save time, save money, increased auditability and accuracy of those audit reports. No more guesswork, because the information is saved, it's audited, we know who touched it, who approved it, what they said, and what they agreed to. And then the ability for end users, for business users, for the people who are dealing with this stuff on a day-to-day basis to easily and intuitively interact with the sometimes Byzantine language of contracts. Well, let's take a look at the demonstration, gang. I'm going to back out here. As I mentioned before, we're going to show you a short viewlet. We do this in the interest of time, so you can see the complete solution here. and we are happy to engage with you to show you the live demo of this at any time. You can schedule one of those by reaching out to your sales representative or by emailing us at 11g@fishbowlsolutions.com. So let's go ahead and hit play here. You can see the contract wizard that we get in here. It's integrated with the content management system. And you first select your appropriate use case. Now, what's interesting here, and as you'll have noticed right there, as I move back just a touch, as you'll have noticed, we're going to select the confidentiality agreement for the purposes of this demonstration, but there are many different types of use cases or different contract types in your organization. Whatever your organization contract types are, that's how this list is tailored. So we have a confidentiality agreement in this particular scenario, and we start getting into the contracts wizard. Well, this is where we start creating a cover sheet for that particular contract, and this cover sheet will move through the workflow and act as the aggregation point for the actual contract itself, any scanned assets, or any other images. Let me pause here for a moment on the Entity Manager to show you that when we are mapping the entities, we have different names for the organization. Maybe Acme Corp is also known as the entity Acme. And it's important to be able to map these entities to one another using the paradigms and principles of master data management in order to associate items that really belong together, but that may not be exactly the same from a computational or computing standpoint. As we move forward in the viewlet, the users fill out the cover sheet and explain the person who's entering in the contract or creating the new contract. They're filling out the effective dates, the terms, and what the escalation points are that they want with the real convenient calendaring interface. So you can set review dates, expiration dates, the term dates of the contract when it goes into effect, etc. And of course, this is all extensible by you or with Fishbowl Professional Services to really meet the specific needs of your organization. At each step along the way, there's the ability to fill out notes now, and this is important because these notes provide vital contextual information when you go back to do audit and review periods, or when audit and review periods become incumbent upon you through external either legislation or regulations or just industry best practices. One of the things that we're excited to showcase here is the ability to associate contract templates, and we're looking at here, in this case, this particular template has been associated with this confidentiality agreement scenario, and that can be checked out and open, edited, managed. It's a managed asset inside of UCM. If there are scanned images that come in from external parties or other contract examples or live contracts that happen to already exist in your UCM system, of course you can attach them and associate with them with this particular contract cover sheet and folio all from this very easy screen. So you can see there's a search that happens. We associate the attachments, the addendums, the other provisos that may add some additional flavor or requirements to the contract. When that cover sheet is ready to go and ready to be routed for workflow, it is submitted into the content management system, and you get that confirmation page. You can view the cover page, and we can see the status of that page as it moves through the organization. Now, in this case, we've logged in, pretend that we've logged in as a different user. This would be an approver, somebody who needs to review that particular contract. Using the capabilities of the contract management solution, we're able to search all the different workflows and see what is queued up and waiting for us. And you can see things like the different columns that I might be interested in viewing to provide a richer or a more streamlined data set based on the needs of the users of your organization. The interesting thing here is that it will also show how long an item has been waiting on a particular, in a particular step or for a particular user to take action. All of that data is stored and is auditable, so you can start to do business metrics and operational enhancements to streamline how processes and how contracts move through your organization in order to optimize those processes in your organization. If something's been waiting too long in a particular step, maybe on corporate legal, then you can start to get out ahead of those processes by letting them know ahead of time high priority items or lower priority items. The review pane is absolutely able to be modified and customized. What we're looking at here is the standard version, but it can be tailored to the needs of your organization, both from a look and feel perspective, as well as a demonstration of what assets or other information ought to be shown there to different types of users. That brings in the personalization aspects. Well, in this case, the contract is in process. We're looking at the different attachments and amendments to that particular contract, all able to be interacted with right from that cover page, which is very important. That's an advantage that the system provides over the out-of-the-box Oracle system, which of course has workflow, but you have to click around a number of times to find each individual document with very little or no association between those items. Certainly not the ability to relate them as a contract, a single entity, like the Fishbowl Solutions contract management solution does. All of the approval comments is another advantage. Those are stored and become auditable for your complete governance and audit trail at the end of the process. The approval comments are something that are unique to the Fishbowl Solutions contract management solution. They don't come out of the box with the Oracle solution. They are part of what Fishbowl brings to the table, and they're a vital part of the enhancement and of the solution overall. Well, gang, that is the very short viewlet. Again, we're happy to go through a live demonstration with you and your requirements. We'd be happy to share that, that experience with you. Again, if you email us at 11g@fishbowlsolutions.com or contact rather your sales representative, we'd be happy to set up that meeting. Part of the full webinar series, gang, is that these are highly targeted and very specific, and they're not going to waste a whole heck of a lot of your time. And so we have reached the end of this particular fall webinar series on the Fishbowl Solutions contract management solution. We invite you to come to our webpage and view this demo that you've seen today, download some of the brochures and the case studies that we talked about, and of course there is where you can reach out to us through email, through the telephone, and of course our web address. Right now we'd be happy to take your questions. Please use the chat functionality through the GoToMeeting user interface. We'd be happy to address some of those questions just as soon as you ask them. All right, we have our first question here. What I'd like the question here is, can you use ODC or ODDC with contract management? ODC stands for Oracle Document Capture. ODDC stands for Oracle Distributed Document Capture. Those are part of the Oracle Enterprise Content Management Suite. They're the tools for taking paper documents, paper assets, scanning them, indexing them, and injecting them, and storing them into the content management system. The answer there is yes. You can capture, of course, your paper contracts, your tip items, and your faxed items, and important other assets that came in as those faxes and emails, and then commit them into the UCM system, where they can then be associated with the contract just like any other content item through that cover sheet. We saw some of that in the demonstration. So that's a very good point, and oftentimes, especially when we are interacting with third parties who send us contracts, those are often in paper or fax form, and the ability to use ODC and ODDC to get them into the system where they can then be associated with our internal objects is very important. The next question out here is, do I really need the contract management packaged offering, or can I just purchase the subscription notifier or workflow solution set objects and configure them with UCM for contract management? Well, that's a very astute question, and the answer to that is that it is feasible, but it's not optimal in our opinion. Our customers have continued to tell us that the prepackaged and integrated capabilities that the contract management solution offers goes above the core functionality of workflow solution set and subscription notifier. That's not to minimize the importance of those two components. Those really sit at the heart and at the core of our contract management offering, but they do not include the entity management, the cover sheets, and the enhanced proactive approach that we take to associating the items, to governing them throughout the entire process. So they're a very important part of it, but they don't represent necessarily the complete solution. All right, we have the next question. Who can typically update contract wording? Can business users do this, or does it require a developer? The contract, that's a great question. The contract wording is represented in those documents themselves. And so as we saw in the demonstration, whether you have a contract template or you're associating a contract that already exists in your system, as long as the business user has the right permissions to see those items, they can absolutely update and enhance the contract wording. Now, a word of caution there, anytime that a business user does that, of course they must have the appropriate security credentials to be allowed to do that. Contracts are sticky things. You don't want just anybody doing it. But it does not require a developer to update the contract wording. Now, of course, if you're scanning in images from third parties, that requires a little bit more work to have, interact with those third parties or those originating parties in order to update the contracts themselves. But this is a very business user focused and business user centric solution. You don't need developers. You do want your business users, though, to have the appropriate credentials. And then, of course, for the changed contract to be workflowed and updated. Let's see. Do we have another question there? The next question is, what Oracle UCM versions are supported for the Fishbowl Solutions contract management solution? Both the Oracle 10G and the 11G versions are supported. So the brand new Oracle UCM 11G is the system that we use to record that view-it. If you call in for a live demonstration, that's what we will be using, unless you have a specific need to show it and to use it and to see it working on the 10G system. We have those systems set up and working as well. So both the 10G and the 11G systems are updated and working and ready to go. All right, gang, we're going to call it quits now. I really appreciate your time and your attention for this, the second of our fall webinar series. Thank you for your time and for being part of this meeting. I would encourage you and remind you all to come back tomorrow and to let the UCM administrators in your organization know that we will have a very exciting webinar tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time about the ECM administration suite to showcase some of the tools and capabilities that Fishbowl has built and packaged together to help you run your UCM and ECM systems a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more conveniently. Until then, this is Billy Kripe on behalf of Jason and Kim and the rest of the Fishbowl team here. Thanks a bunch and have a great week.